Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Osego, aka Grayson Sortek, and welcome back to the second video on installing the classic MechWarrior games on modern operating systems. Now, of course, it's the second video, but we're going to be installing MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon. Um, Now, before I get started on this, there's a few tools that you're going to need. Now, if you already have WinRAR or another program that can open up zip files, hey, good for you. Shouldn't have any issues. If you don't, I recommend getting 7-Zip. It's a free program. It's nice. It's easy to use. It opens pretty much everything. And I'm going to show you guys how to once you've installed it, how you basically don't ever need to actually open that program ever again. I know with 7-Zip and WinRAR, they usually do like a trial version and then they try to get you to buy whatever version. Um, yeah, I'm going to show you how to unzip files without ever interacting with the program, so you're not going to run into that issue. The next piece of software that you're going to need, and you're going to notice that, oh my god, security error! I'm going to be putting a link to this. It's dgVoodoo 2. Now this is basically, if you've ever heard of the term like glide wrapper or something like that, especially for like really old DOS games and whatnot, essentially what it's doing is yeah, I'll make it sound scary. It's hijacking your graphics card, and it's basically converting um, older versions of how your graphics card interpreted data, and it's converting it to uh, something that your modern graphics card can actually use. So it gets false flagged. I've seen the author of this program respond to people. Actually, I kind of feel like I should reach out to them as well. Um, I have tried this program. I've been using it for probably 2 months now. I've hit it with every major security program that I have, and I've checked, like for example, Malwarebytes, and I checked the Malwarebytes forums, and yeah, it's confirmed. It's a false flag. But it looks like Chrome is also false flagging it. So if you have Chrome and you run into this error, just go to the details button, and right here where it says visit the site, tell Chrome to go fuck themselves. Now, for the most part, Chrome does that to protect you from phishing websites or sites that are known to have malware or something like that. This gets false flagged as malware. Um, it's not. It's really not. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, if you don't feel comfortable getting dgVoodoo, uh, if you have another go away Java. If you have another program that you could recommend, that can do a pretty good job for the MechWarrior series, then I would love to see this in the comments. So far, I found that dgVoodoo 2 is ridiculously good, primarily for two reasons. I mean, it's not just the scaling to, HD and making sure that modern graphics cards work, but there's also two other things. It has a feature in there to make sure that you don't run into any kind of weird physics acceleration issues. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the video. And two, it also really helps with mouse scaling, which I have not encountered with a lot of other wrappers before. Essentially what happens is you're going from a 4:3 to a 16:9 aspect ratio, so your acceleration along the horizontal plane or the x-plane is it just feels like it's a lot more, but it's just because it's expanding the image. um, dgVoodoo has options to basically negate that completely, and it's awesome. So that's one of the reasons why I use it. Now, before we get on to the rest of the software, I have to do a big shout out and cite my source, Tyler799, who has a very awesome comprehensive guide on how to get MechWarrior 3 to run on modern operating systems. If you guys run into any issues, I mean, feel free to leave a comment or contact me. But also, please refer to this as kind of a nice little resource guide. Uh, I have Windows 10 64-bit and an NVIDIA graphics card, so I know there's some issues with like Radeon, um, and I know that there could be issues with other versions of Windows. Unfortunately, I don't have that hardware or software, so it's not something that I've encountered, and it's not something that I can even test for you guys. So, yeah, there's a lot more resources beyond my simple video, but um, yeah, this guide unfortunately doesn't go over one small but critical aspect, and that's when you're going through the installation process. If you have an overlay program like Shadowplay and Video Shadowplay, or you have like Discord, and it likes to overlay, those things overlay programs, specifically video games. Um, they're just not compatible with older games, so sometimes the process gets hung up. I've encountered that 3 times now. So if we encounter that while installing, I'll show you guys how to get around that. So if we do that and I show that in the video, I'll be sure to send this on to Tyler because I believe this was March of this year. Yeah, March 11th, 2019. So maybe they can amend their guide to include something about that. Next, we are going to go to myabandonware.com. This site is awesome. When you go there, it's going to be this. It's going to be the main page. There's tons of old games here that are just awesome that you can download. But yeah, just go ahead and put in MechWarrior 3 and do a search on that. And you should come across a number of different games that it's going to recommend. And it will include like MechWarrior 2, for example. We're going to be getting MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon. So go ahead and click on MechWarrior 3. And we are going to go ahead and scroll down. Now, here's something really cool about Myabandonware. It's got descriptions of the games. It's got screenshots. Sometimes it'll have videos. It has people leaving comments. I haven't really seen any reviews. Most of the time, these are people who, like this one, they're trying to find help. I find these forums pretty helpful, but, what works for one person might not work for another person. So sometimes people, oh yeah, just run it in compatibility mode. Well, what I found, at least as of the latest Windows update in October of 2019, that doesn't always work. And there's some things that you need to kind of work around it. So, you're going to find some useful information, some not so useful information. My recommendation is to check out when the comment was left and what kind of responses it got, because people tend to clarify other people. All right. So we're going to scroll all the way down here to the files section. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be downloading the ISO version, with the little British flag right there. Otherwise, okay, if you're German and you want the German version, here it is. Although I don't know if there's a no CD patch for the German version or if the 1.2 patch works on the German version. I have not tried this. So what we're going with is the ISO version with the little British flag right there. We're going to download it. Same thing with the patch, same thing with the no CD fix. And for Pirate's Moon, now this is the funny thing. You're not going to be downloading the ISO version for that because it's not actually an ISO version. It is a .bin and .q file, which if you go back to my MechWarrior 2 video, Power ISO 5.5, you can use that to open it. But honestly, since we're downloading the ISO version of MechWarrior 3 and we're installing it, it should have all the files necessary for the RIP version of Pirate's Moon to work. I've seen on forums, I think what happened is people tried to get the RIP version and they didn't even bother with MechWarrior 3, and they ran into registry and DLL issues. But since we're going to be installing MechWarrior 3 as a normal program, we really shouldn't run into that issue with the RIP version of Pirate's Moon. So, just to throw that out there, if you guys do run into any of those issues, please let me know. I found a few guides and a few forums where people have, okay, well, you download this DLL and you put it here and blah, blah, blah. But I have a friend who tried that. It didn't really work out for them. I recommend that you go with the ISO version of MechWarrior 3 and then get the RIP version of Pirate's Moon. All right, let's get this show on the road. Now, I should note that with my old games, I've got install files. Generally, for all the other games that I've got going on that are fairly old, as you can see, here's a bunch here. Then I've got a shortcuts folder, which is kind of sparsely populated right now. You can see MechWarrior 2 from the MechWarrior 2 video. Then I've got a tools folder where that's where I put dgVoodoo and Power ISO, and then I've got my MechWarriors folders. Now, the reason for this is that eventually you're going to have a ton of files, and if you just put them all into one folder, it's going to get kind of difficult to navigate. So I really, really recommend separating these things out into their own folders. Plus, you're going to be downloading a few custom files from me through Critical Rocket's Discord. Big shout out, thank you, Critical Rocket. Um, and it's going to be a lot easier not to throw those into the mix too. So let's go to our MechWarrior 3 base. Now, I create a zip folder for everything. You can see I've got that with Pirate's Moon. And as you can see with Pirate's Moon, it's already been unzipped and everything's ready to go. But I wanted to show you guys how to use 7-zip. So I've got my zips folder here. Now, I mean, feel free to delete the zip file if you really want to after you've installed everything. Zips are compressed already, and I like having a nice clean backup if I need it, ready to go without having to re-download something. So I recommend you keep these, but, you know, personal preference up to you. Now, once you've installed 7-zip, and this also works for WinRAR, or it should work for WinRAR, when you right-click these things, go to 7-zip, or in your case, I believe it would be WinRAR, and they should both have an option, or at least with WinRAR, it should be kind of similar to this, extract to, and then whatever the file name is. So extract to, blam. And it's going to throw a folder right there in the same folder that you're already in. So we're just going to do that for all of our files. We're going to right-click, 7-zip, then extract to. And I hate it when it auto-filters right in the middle of clicking. There we go. This is the actual game files. I'm going to go ahead and take these 3 folders, cut them, go up a folder. There we go. Now we're ready to rock and roll. All right. So with Windows 10, and I believe Windows 8, although I did not try this on Windows 8. This is just from what I understand from friends who have Windows 8 and forums. You should have the ability to mount an ISO natively without having to have a third-party program. Definitely for Windows 10. So once you open the MechWarrior 3 -win-en-iso version, you should see just one file. This is a disk image file. Basically, it's just a compressed version of a physical disk. And what we're going to do is we're going to right-click it and we're going to mount it. Now, this is basically the digital equivalent of popping a disk into the tray. I have to add a quick caveat. If you, and I ran into this while I was doing all the steps and I installed it the first time, and what I kept doing is I just kept right-clicking and clicking eject. That's really bad. Don't do that. Well, it's not really, really bad, but if you do that, it's going to close File Explorer on you, and if you were in the middle of, I don't know, messing with a bunch of different files and kind of moving things around, and then that happens, and now you've got to open File Explorer, that can be really annoying. Go back, or go to another folder or something, then right-click and eject it, and it shouldn't kick you out of File Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click and mount, get that back in there. Alright, so what we're doing is we're looking for auto run. As you can see, it already has let me just go to right-click, properties, compatibility. It's already got run this program as an administrator. Now, if for whatever reason, if you've right-clicked it and you've gone to compatibility and it's not already set up this way, make sure it is. Run this program as an administrator and set it to run this program in compatibility mode for Windows 98/Windows ME. If for some reason it's not already set to that. Alright, so we're going to hit OK, and we are going to go ahead and click on Auto Run. Click Yes. Alright, do you guys see how absolutely nothing is happening? Let me show you what's going on. I'm going to go to my Task Manager. There's Bandicam, the program I'm using to record this with. Great program. You can see that 32-bit setup launcher is in the background processes. And what's going on is it's basically being not blocked, but there's a hierarchy of how the processes are allowed to go forward. And it's essentially being overruled it's going to either be My NVIDIA Shadowplay or Discord, because those are both overlay programs, and somehow they're conflicting with this, and I guess they're trying to initiate their overlay sequence, but it's an old program that's not compatible, so it's not doing it. So if you run into this and you see this in the background process, go to your Details tab, and there it is, setup.exe. I'm going to go ahead and right-click it, and I'm going to go to Analyze Weight Chain. Alright, so there we go, Logitech-discord.exe. Now, it's, for me anyway, it's either been this, or it has been the NVIDIA container. And I know what they are, so I'm going to end this process, but, very important, if you have something else, if it's not an NVIDIA container, or it's not this Logitech-Discord, if something else is preventing the setup from running, make sure to Google that. Google exactly what it says, file name, so that you can see, okay, what is this? Just in case, you want to make sure that you don't end some kind of critical Windows process or something like that. But chances are you're going to run into an issue similar to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this little box, and I'm going to hit End Process. It's going to confirm. I'm going to say yes. And voila, look at that. Now we've got our MechWarrior 3 install prompts going on. And this basically just installs like a regular program where it's got, terms of service, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I accept. Now, for me, I'm not going to install it to the C drive because I have a much bigger E drive. So I'm just going to replace the C with an E. Then I'm going to hit Next. Folder does not exist. Yes. The target folder, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Setup, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. And now, if I remember correctly, I need to go to Custom. I want to make sure I got the program. Pretty sure I want to get the AVI files as well. I basically want everything, so I'm going to go to Next. Blah, 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 Next. And it's going to install the game. Okay, now, if it asks you if you want to have an icon on the desktop, tell it no, because we're going to be putting in our own custom icon. So I'm going to say no, and then it's got... Oh, God. This brings me back. Civilization 2 Gold Edition. Falcon 4.0, which I believe was, that was a joystick. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to fax any forums, so I'm just going to hit cancel. I really don't want to register for this stuff, so never register. No, thank you. I don't need to launch DirectX 6.1 setup. That's the whole point of dgVoodoo. So we're going to go ahead and finish that. Alright, so we have now installed MechWarrior 3. Congratulations. Alright, now we've got MechWarrior 3 installed. Go to the patch, click, and it's just an application. We're going to click it, we're going to run it. It's going to have, man, this is a blast from the past, the nice teal background and everything. It's great. Oh, yeah, sorry. Please insert your MechWarrior 3 CD. I forgot about that. MechWarrior 3 base. We're going to go ahead and, not the no CD, what am I doing? Right click, mount. There we go. Alright, next. Well, I might have to exit this. Okay. So let us go back to our old games, MechWarrior 3, base, patch. Should detect now that it's mounted. Alright, perfect. So, yeah. I guess I jumped the gun when I ejected the CD, so now that we've installed the patch, now it should be safe to eject that disk. There we go. MechWarrior 3 base. Now I'm going to go to the fix when, and it's just one file. I'm going to show you what this is all about. I'm going to go ahead and go to where I installed MechWarrior 3. I'm going to end up putting all the MechWarriors into MicroPros just because I don't want to have to search through my computer to find everything. So here's MechWarrior 3. I am going to, as you can see, there's this Mech3. It's an application. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to rename it Mech3-old. There we go. I'm going to copy the Mech3 that's in the no CD folder, and I'm going to paste it right there. Now I'm going to right click it, create a shortcut, cut that shortcut, go to my old games, go to my shortcut folder, and paste it. So it's a little bit easier to find. I'm going to go ahead and name that MechWarrior 3 so that it shows up after the MechWarrior 2 shortcut. Alright, and don't worry, I'm going to go a little bit slower on that when we get into Pirate's Moon, just to make sure that you guys get what I did there. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon, and remember, this is just the RIP version. I'm not using the ISO version. So the RIP version, it's just a big folder that says MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon -RIP. I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to go to my MicroPros folder. As you can see, I've got this pinned just because I keep messing with these files all the time. It's not a bad idea to pin these as you're installing the MechWarrior games. It just makes it a lot easier. I'm going to paste it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this, right-click, rename, and I'm going to get rid of that -RIP just because, yeah, I don't need... There we go. Alright, so now in the MechWarrior 3 folder, you're going to see that there is a Mech3 application, and just like the previous one, just like MechWarrior 3, we're going to right-click this, we're going to rename it -old, and we're going to go to the crack folder. No, not that kind of crack. This is the cracked version of the MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon launcher. We're going to copy this. We're going to go back to our base game folder, right-click, or not right-click, but well, if that's the way you do it, and you right-click and you paste. I use the keyboard command Control-V. Now it should be able to launch from this. So I'm going to right-click that, create a shortcut. Here's my shortcut. I'm going to cut it. Then I'm going to go back to my old games, shortcuts. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to rename it. You can rename it whatever you want. I'm just doing this to make it a little bit easier to find the icons as I go through and I launch these things. Alright, so now we've got both MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon installed into our computers. The next thing that we have to do is basically set everything up with dgVoodoo. So we're going to go to our tools, and if you haven't already, go ahead and right-click and 7-zip extract to dgVoodoo, and you should get a folder like this. Now what we're going to end up doing, we're going to take the application itself and the configuration file. We're going to copy them. Don't cut them, copy them. So Control-C or right-click copy. And we are going to go to the MicroPros folder, MechWarrior 3, the base folder, and we're going to go ahead and paste. Now, it's actually kind of funny because, let me just go ahead and exit that. One of the guides I found said, yeah, just copy everything from the MS folder if you have, Microsoft. Unfortunately, what they failed to mention was that there's going to be two other folders. This is not a 64-bit application, so even though you have a 64-bit operating system, you're actually not going to use this DLL file. You're going to use the x86 DLL files because this is a 32-bit application. Even if you have a 64-bit operating system, just like me, MechWarrior 3 itself is a 32-bit application. So we're going to go ahead and copy all of these DLLs, and we're going to put them in the main MechWarrior 3 folder. So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and open dgVoodoo. Now, what you're going to see, or hopefully what you should see, is the config folder, and it should have, for me in this example, it's E MicroPros MechWarrior 3. So wherever you installed this to, it should have that. If it doesn't, go ahead and click on the little period, and I believe that's a backslash? Yeah, period backslash, to make sure that this matches where you've installed MechWarrior 3 to. Alright, so now don't worry about the output.api. What we're going to do is we're going to select our graphics card. We're going to go with our default display. Now, I only have one display. If you have two, I think from what I read on the forums, you're basically just going to have to pick one of those displays. I don't have a two display setup, so I haven't messed with this. I have no way to test it or to tell you, what the best options are. So we're going to go ahead and pick a display if you have two. Then we're going to make sure that enumerated refresh rates are on. This is super important. Please make sure that this is on. I will explain in a minute. Appearance, we're going to set full screen. Scaling mode, this is where we get this nice, we have a ton of different options, right? And what I'm going to do is stretched 4:3 aspect ratio. So it's going to stretch the image to my 1920 by 1080. But it's going to keep that 4:3 aspect ratio for things like the mouse controls and whatnot. Alright, so once you've set all of this stuff, go ahead and go to the DirectX tab. Now it should say dgVoodoo Virtual 3D Accelerated Card. I'm going to go ahead and give it a gig of VRAM. Then for the filtering, I'm going to max it out. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the anti-aliasing. And the resolution, you should, for me, I have pretty much everything I run in 1920 by 1080, but a friend of mine pointed out that, yeah, but you could also run it in whatever the native resolution is. So whatever your max native resolution is, or whatever you want to run this at, you're going to pick that, but the really important part is that you're going to make sure that it's at 59 Hertz. So in my example, 1920 by 1080 at 59 Hertz. And the reason for that is that, well, older games tied their physics for whatever reason to either frame rate or refresh rate. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying older games, because if I remember correctly, Fallout 76 had that issue where you could look down at the ground, get a ridiculously high refresh, or no, frame rate, and you could turn into the Flash. So, yeah. We're going to make sure that whatever resolution you're running at is at 59 Hertz so that you don't run into like Roadrunner mechs and just crazy physics or something like that. The next part, you're going to make sure bilinear blitz stretch and force VSync. Now, for the purposes of figuring out if dgVoodoo correctly applied or not, we're going to leave the dgVoodoo watermark on. This is just for the first run to make sure that it's actually applied and working. But when I do my Let's Play, for example, I'm not going to have that on, okay? So once you have all these options set, feel free to pause at any point. Go ahead and hit Apply. Okay. All right, now here's the thing. You're going to need to do this for Pirate's Moon as well. So go ahead and I'm just going to get everything ready for the Pirate's Moon main folder. Here at the tools, dgVoodoo. Again, I'm going to take the application and config, copy, not cut, paste them in my main Pirate's Moon folder. I'm going to take the x86 DLLs, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and open up dgVoodoo, and it's the exact same process. We're going to first make sure that it's set to the right folder. It is. We're going to make sure that we have our graphics card and our display correctly selected. Click enumerated refresh rates, full screen scaling mode, stretched 4:3 aspect ratio. Now you could do windowed. I know some people prefer to have things windowed. I'm just not a big fan of it, and I tend to hit Alt Enter and make it full screen anyway. So yeah, you could, if you for whatever reason wanted it to be in windowed, you can. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying, why would you? Anyway, sorry. DirectX tab. Yep, we're going to set this to 1000. We're going to max out our texture filtering. Same thing with our anti-aliasing. Resolution, 1920 by 1080 at 59 Hertz. get these two options selected. I'm going to leave the watermark on to make sure that it actually applies. Okay, we are almost there, I promise. I'm going to go to my MicroPros MechWarrior 3, and because we haven't run it, there's no profiles set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this, and then I'm going to show you guys how to get the, if I go ahead and go back to old games, MechWarrior 3, I'm going to show you how to get the custom controls that I have set up properly installed. Unlike a lot of other games, you can't just throw it in the folder. When you're in the options, you have to actually import it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and run this so that we get some folders created and a profile set up.
It is the 31st century, and mankind is once again at war.
Hell yeah! Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm running this thing in 1920 by 1080. I can see here at the bottom right the dgVoodoo watermark is on, so obviously it is, it's got everything going. If I go to options, difficulty medium, camera, I don't like first person, I'm going to do third person high. It's actually kind of funny, they had cheats right here in the options menu. It's crazy, right? And it's kind of funny because they had that in MechWarrior 4 as well. I don't know, that's kind of cool. Alright, so if I go to my controls, it might already be kind of set up from a previous install that I have. You can see it says current config MW3 Controls. Yours are not going to say this. In fact, when I first loaded this up, I found that it didn't even give me the mouse axis, and I had to click on mouse keyboard default, and then I had to reset everything. And when you try to set your keys, if you right click on this, it's going to clear it. And if you left click, you can kind of see that it's a little bit shaded green. It's got that underline. If you press your button that you want for forward throttle, it might not work right away. So you got to press it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Just got to keep pressing. There we go. Yeah, if you don't want to do that over and over again like I did for all the freaking controls, just download mine, and I'll show you how to do that. Right, so we're gonna, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, I don't want to save that just yet. I'm gonna leave that alone because I don't want there to already be a file with that name in there. So if I go to campaign real quick, I'm gonna put in Grayson, Sortek, accept. Alright, we're gonna skip this crap. Not that it's really crap. I just, I want to show you guys how to get the controls up and running, and I just wanted to make sure to have a pilot. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and quit this. Yep. Alright, so as you can see, hey, what just happened here? There's a bunch of new folders and whatnot. Cool. That's because they don't even bother with having those folders there until you actually get into the game. You'll see pilots. I actually have Grayson Sortek right there. Keys and config. So the keys folder is empty right now. What we're going to do is we're going to take our MW3 Controls.zrd, and we're going to copy them, and we're going to paste them right there in the keys. Now I should be able to launch MechWarrior 3 again. And if I go to my options, controls, load, MW3 Controls. Okay, load those. Now I know that in the video you guys didn't really see anything change. If I were to hit like mouse keyboard default, you might see something similar to this, or you might see it to where the mouse isn't set up, so that it might look a little bit more like this. We're going to go ahead and load our MW3 Controls, hit OK. There we go. So now you should see it changed over. Go ahead and hit accept. And if I get into an instant action with Grayson, why the hell not? Let's do Annihilator versus Annihilator. Alright, we're going to go into our mech lab, and what do we got? 4 LBX 10. Alright, weapon grouping. Pulse lasers, group 1. Alright, I'm good with that. Launch. Alright, look at this. Look at it, it's so beautiful.
All systems nominal.
And my cockpit controls are working, my targeting controls are working, my zoom control is working. Alright. And I can quickly switch between these. And was it backslash? Yeah, there we go.
Group fire engaged.
I'm way out of range. Yep, that gains heat pretty quickly. Alright, yeah, are you in? Are you in range? Oh, I'm already overheating. Yeah. Boom! There we go, look at that. I'm using MW3 Controls and MechWarrior 3. Oh, blew off your arm. Oh, I tripped you. That sucks. Now we're just watching me be mean. One annihilator to another. Can you not get up? Can Annie's not? Oh, wait, there it is. Yeah, look at that. How cool is that? And now he's limping around. God, I love that.
Mission successful.
Sorry, bud. I know. It's horrible for one annihilator to kill another. Standing victoriously. Not gloating at all. You know how it goes. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I forgot. MechWarrior 3, you definitely want to do first person. MechWarrior 4 is where you want it to be third person. Because, damn, these cockpits, they're all unique, and they're detailed, and it's just really cool, and you didn't really see that again until MWO, when they started charging you, you know, what, $60, $70, $80 for a chassis or something ridiculous like that, or grind hundreds and hundreds of hours like I have. So yeah, check that out. It's up, it's running, it's working. If you guys actually do want a really good alternative to MWO for playing MechWarrior online, because these classic MechWarrior games, I believe MechTech and others were keeping like the multiplayer version of MechWarrior 4 running. I don't think there's a multiplayer version of MechWarrior 3. They ended up getting basically bullied out of that by PGI, no less. So if you guys want a really good experience, I highly, highly recommend you check out MechWarrior Living Legends. I'm going to be posting links to that as well. And, well, I mean, I'll also probably have content of my unit and I playing MechWarrior Living Legends on my channel. So, please feel free to check those out and see how cool it can be. Alright, I am super happy that I was able to show you guys how to get MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 3 Pirate's Moon up and running. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. And just as a reminder, make sure you take the MWO controls and you copy them and you do the exact same thing for Pirate's Moon. Do the exact same thing where you're going to go ahead and launch the executable itself. I'm going to go ahead and basically jump cut to that. Okay, so I started it up just to make sure that the folders are there. I'm going to take my MWO controls, copy that, go to keys. As you can see, default control config is in there because I set the default controls. I'm going to go ahead and put MWO controls in there, go back and launch again. And then I'm going to go to my options, controls, load, and select MWO controls. Alright, and there we go. It should be set up and ready to rock. So if you like this guide, please feel free to leave a like and share it. And let me know if you have any kind of feedback, if you guys have any recommendations. I know there's a modding community out there for MechWarrior 3. I'm not going to do that for the Let's Play because I want to show people what the vanilla game was like when it came out, the thing that I experienced when I was younger. But if you guys have any kind of recommendations, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Until next time!